Hi, welcome to the studio. In this video I'm going to let you know what you need to know to decide on your printmaking inks for hand printing at home. Alternatives that you might already have in the studio, what I use on a day-to-day basis in the home studio, and I'm also going to let you in on my cleanup process for oil-based ink that is non-toxic. So keep watching for that. If you don't know me, I'm Ruth. I'm an artist, printmaker and teacher. I make videos from my tiny garden studio in Bristol, UK, and I help artists to deepen their practice through hand printing at home. So I'm going to go over the broad choices that you need to know about printmaking inks. I'm going to show you the results of 3 of those printmaking inks that I've tested. I'm going to let you know what I use on a day-to-day basis in the home studio to get my colours, and I'm also going to show you how I clean up oil-based inks in a non-toxic way. If you like the video, please do subscribe to the channel. You can also subscribe to my mailing list in the description below. There's a link and you'll get monthly inspiration into your inbox. So before we start, just something to note. I'm going to go over inks for hand monoprinting or relief printing in the home studio here. I'm not going to cover inks for intaglio printmaking. Broadly speaking, you probably want to invest in some intaglio printing inks if you want to do that kind of thing. So until recently, you had 2 broad choices for your printing ink or paint, and that would be water-based or oil-based. Now, just to confuse matters, we have a kind of hybrid. There's a few out there now which are oil-based, but you can clean with water, and they sell themselves on being kind of non-toxic. And some of them are actually really good. They do feel just like oil-based. They are oil-based inks. But you can clean them with water, so really useful. So you've got your 3 options there. You can use any of these for hand printing, but you'll want to think about 3 factors before you decide. So firstly, what paper are you using? If you're thinking of using thin paper, including tissue or thin Asian papers, then you might want to go for oil-based ink because it buckles the paper less. If you're going to be using slightly thicker paper, then water-based is absolutely fine. The next thing to think about is what colours would you like. Oil-based ink tends to be more subtle, nuanced colours, quite complex colours that you can mix. Water-based, generally speaking, I would say they're a bit brighter, they're a bit more graphic, they're a bit flatter. So if that's your thing, then stick with the water-based. And the other thing to think about is, are you near a source of water? If you are, great, you've got the option of using water-based inks. If not, then you will have to stick with the oil-based because you just won't be able to clean up effectively and quickly enough, I would suggest. And the other thing that people used to think about when deciding about printing inks was whether they wanted to be non-toxic, because generally speaking, oil-based inks used to be that you had to clean up with terps or something like that, some kind of alcohol-based spirit. But these days you can actually just clean up in a non-toxic way, and I'm going to show you that at the end of the video, how I clean up my oil paint at the end of the session. So the other question is, can you use alternatives to printing inks that you might already have lying around the studio? Yes, you can. Oil paints are a great alternative, and they're what I almost always use for my mono printing. So the colours are subtle, they're really nuanced, they roll out really nicely onto a hard surface, and they won't make any really thin paper like tissue buckle. So I'm a big fan of using oil paints. So if you have any lying around that you've never used, or you've used a little bit of, have a go. You can try that for your hand printing. Even when I'm printing intaglio or relief plates, I use hand printed tissue paper to collage in, and I've hand printed it with oil paint. So that can add amazing colours to the piece as well. The other thing that people ask me about a lot is using acrylics, and I tend to shy away from them, if I'm honest, mainly because they dry too quickly to print from. They can make thin papers buckle, and their consistency isn't great for rolling out with a roller either. However, you can give them a go. What I would suggest is adding some retardant to them to stop them drying too quickly, or buying open acrylics such as golden open acrylics, and have a go. So these are the results of my testing. I actually tested 3 different inks on 3 different papers. So this was bog standard cheap block printing watercolour, and it actually says watercolour on it, so it's fairly obvious what it is. And it was okay. The intensity of colour is nowhere near as much as the other ones that I tried, but it does show really nice mark making. It shows where I've made the marks and nice soft blends of colour as well. Not particularly even on this bright copy paper, but actually quite nice on this Japanese paper here. The tissue paper has buckled slightly, not as much as I thought it would actually, to be fair, so not so bad. But it was okay. I guess you get what you pay for. It wasn't very good for rolling out. I found that my roller just didn't pick up the ink very well, and that's partly why I couldn't get these nice even rolls of ink. Next up was this Caligo Safe Wash Relief Ink made by Cranfield. Now, I've only just started using this and trying this out, but I was actually really impressed. So these are one of these sort of hybrid inks where it's oil-based, but it is washable with water. And I found it to be really good. It felt like printmaking ink, quite thick, viscous, sticky, and it felt like it was oil-based, which was nice. The marks, as you can see, came out really well, and the very soft blends where I just took a little bit of ink off. Didn't do quite as well on the Japanese paper, perhaps, but all round I was really impressed with that. And this is good because you can wash it with water or you can wash it off with oil, and you got this real intensity of colour as well. So that's a good one to try. And last but not least, I've got my black oil paint. And this is the oil paint that I tend to use all the time, and it's come out pretty well actually. The colour is maybe not quite as intense as the relief ink, and you can definitely see more roller marks. Now, I quite like roller marks, but if you don't like them, then that might be something you want to think about. The marks have really come out well. All the marks that I've made have come out really nicely, including the really subtle ones. Now, obviously, this doesn't show you the complex, lovely colours you can get with oil paint. I'm just using black here. So that is something to think about when you're deciding on your inks, because oil paint definitely trumps almost every other paint or ink out there in terms of colours that you can mix, and quality of colours. But nonetheless, it's come out really nicely. Especially on the Japanese paper, I really like that. So those are the results from the 3 different types of ink that I've tried. So I promised to show you how I clean up oil paint in a non-toxic way, and here we go. And so here it is, the secret to non-toxic cleanup: vegetable oil. This is what I use when I clean up my oil paint all the time. Because you're not cleaning up paintbrushes or anything like that, it really is simple and effective just to use vegetable oil. So I put a little bit on, roll it around with the inky roller, and then I just use rags to take it all off. So essentially you're just dissolving the colour into oil so much that you can just wipe it away, and it takes about 30 seconds to a minute. Really nice and easy, and I actually prefer this to cleaning up with water because I find it less messy. And there we go. So I hope this has been a useful and enjoyable video. Do consider subscribing so you won't miss a video, or you can join my email list for tips, ideas, inspiration straight into your inbox every month.